You're listening to the Wealth and Wanderlust podcast, an international finance and personal development podcast for the modern day woman. I'm your host, Vanessa M.W., and I'm here to help you build a better life abroad or in America. You can find out more about my work in finance and travel on wanderonwards.co, or you can say hi on Instagram at wanderonwards. Not all classrooms have four walls, so open your mind to what's possible and let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to Wealth and Wanderlust. Today, we have a wonderful episode planned for you today. We have someone who is both in the wealth and wanderlust category, which is not always the case, but she's a international world superstar, writer, photographer, one of my good friends, a collaborator on the Move Abroad Masterclass. And I can't wait for all of you to fall in love with her just as much as I have. So would you give yourself a little introduction?
Of course. Thank you for having me. My name is Aitza. I am originally from Orlando, Florida. I am currently living in Madrid, Spain. I've been in Spain for 2 years now. Like Vanessa said, I write, I blog, I take photos. You can find me on Instagram at Petitely Packaged, on my blog by the same name, on YouTube under my name, Aitza. I'm like the only Black Aitza that you'll see. So it's not hard to find me there. And I've just been, the last 2 years that I've been abroad, been focusing on like travel and making money because I'm a first gen college grad and I'm an only child. So like, we're just doing all the things out here.
Absolutely. And your story is particularly inspiring because when we were talking about the reasons why you moved abroad, I remember that your aunties thought like white people had brainwashed you not to go to medical school and instead to move abroad.
Yes. Oh, they did an intervention on me, guys. I swear, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, all of them that are in like medicine, healthcare, they had an actual intervention to be like, don't let the white people get into your head. You're strong, you're smart, you can do this. And I was like, guys, I know all this. I just don't want to be a doctor.
Well, that's so hard from immigrant families because they want us to like do the things they were unable to do or never had the opportunity to do. So when we're not doctor, lawyer, or engineer, we're just disappointment.
Sadly. And I was still hearing about that the other day, about how like, your friends, they're graduating and they're like out there saving lives. I was like, yeah, and I'm so proud of them.
Oh, you poor thing. So let's rewind a little bit. What made you move abroad? Like, how could you leave Florida with all the alligators and just the many internationally known politicians that you guys host?
So at the time I was actually living in North Carolina, but I was like going back and forth, like where my home base would be. And I was working remotely. I didn't have a full-time job. I told myself that if I didn't have a full-time job with benefits 1 year after I graduated from university, I was moving to Spain. So I put in the application, but I was still freelancing and, actively searching for a job. And when it came time to go ahead and apply for the visa, I did it. And so here we are. It wasn't some big, like tragic, like I hated my job and the 9-to-5 life was killing me. It was just like, I had the opportunity. I'm young. I wasn't in a relationship. I don't have any children. So why not?
And what did your family think?
They thought I was crazy because I had done a coding boot camp during this time as well because, diversify the income. And they were like, you should be looking for jobs in tech. Like, now's the time to be a Black woman, a Latino woman in tech. Like, it is the time. You can make all the money. What do you mean you're leaving to go and teach English? You didn't even study English. It was like a whole lot. But they like came around and were supportive and like kind of did a little going away party or whatever, but it was a lot of, why are you doing this? Like, they couldn't understand why I got a degree and then wanted to go teach English and something that wasn't related to my degree.
And how did you overcome this? Because any normal person would be like, everybody that I love and trust is making me second guess myself. What made you say, I'm going to put the blinders on and just keep moving forward?
I've pretty much always been the kind of person that once I make up my mind, I'm going to stick to it. And even though my mom didn't necessarily agree, she always told me I can't live my life for anyone but myself. because everyone else is doing the same. And even though she might not always agree with my decision, she would still support me and love me and want me to have the best. And so I always keep that in the back of my mind. As long as I can live with the decision I'm making, who cares about the rest? It'll all fall into place.
I know. I kind of feel the same way with my family. But my mom basically kicked me out the door. She was like, I've grown up in the same 5 square miles of Los Angeles my entire life. I want you guys out of the house, in schools in different states. Like, go figure out who you are and what you want to be without me. And bless her for doing that, because like Latinos, and as you know, because you're Afro-Latina, we're not encouraged to leave the nest. We're told to stay as close as possible to home so we can take care of our fathers, and just give up on our hopes and dreams.
Exactly. Yeah. And I will say, like, my mom always had like a wanderlust spirit herself when she was younger. Like, she would move like every 5 years to a new state or something. She never moved abroad, although she thought about moving to Canada because she's from Michigan. So like the whole have your 20s to explore the world or whatever, I grew up listening to all her stories about moving these different places. So it was always something that was encouraged, even though like culturally the collective was like, don't do it.
Well, if it was so easy, then anyone would do it, and it wouldn't be as much fun to be at the top of this mountain by yourself, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree.
This is very true. This is very true.
So where did you go in Spain?
So I wound up in this very remote area of Spain that even Spaniards don't go to. The region is Galicia. It is right above Portugal, about an hour and a half drive from Portugal, where the good port wine comes from, all you wine lovers out there. And I was in the city of Orense. They have hot springs, Celtic ruins, things of that nature. There's a couple vineyards near there, but a river, bridges. Like, it's not a city. It's not Orlando. It's not even Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which is where I went to university. It's like very different. But I think it's what I needed at the time. There is no English there at all. So like, if you're trying to like learn a language, guys, and you want to teach English abroad, choose Galicia, because you'll be forced to speak Spanish. And it was just beautiful and something totally different than I would have expected. They called it the Scotland of Spain because it rains all the time. It has the red cows. It's very green. Again, not what I was expecting. It's not the Madrid or Barcelona that you think when you think of Spain, but it was very, very beautiful.
And you were probably one of the only like American English speakers in this city. How did you deal with the loneliness and like reestablishing yourself?
Yeah, there are not a lot of Americans, foreigners. Like I said, like most Spaniards don't go there. So they're not used to like non-Galicians, let alone like non-Spaniards. But Galicians are very, very nice. So very welcoming and want to know about your culture and sharing their culture and their foods and things. And then there's also expat communities. So there would be English night and Spanish night, and there would be trivia in both languages. So I started going to those. At the time, I found one of the only Protestant churches there because Spain is a very Catholic state. So like all of basically the foreigners congregate in this one Protestant church. And so that's a really good way to make friends, even if you aren't very religious. Because like you're all just kind of like, we don't belong here, but yay. So it was like great. And it kind of got me into the community more.
And I'm sure some of our listeners are going to be a little concerned with the salary discrepancies of what they would potentially make in the United States and what we as people who have left America know that the rest of the world lives on. My first salary abroad was $18,000 in China, and I got to do everything I wanted. I got to eat out all the time, go travel, blah, blah. What was your salary like in Galicia, and how did you manage your money?
So in Galicia, I was paid by the Xunta, which is their community ministry of education, and I got paid 935 euros a month, which I know sounds like pennies. But the cost of living in Galicia is so low that my friends and I rented a 3-bedroom apartment, very spacious, like American-sized spacious apartment, proper living room, kitchen, washing area, large bathroom for 400 euros. So divide that by 3 people. And then maybe utilities, we each maybe individually paid like €40, like if we had the gas on in the winter, like for utilities and stuff. So we're looking about like 200, maybe 220 max for like your cost of living. Groceries, I like a bit more like fancy things, like your dairy-free stuff, your oat milk, because, you know, I have tummy issues and things like that. So my grocery bill would end up being about €30 a week, but most people, and I like to eat meat, most people would do around like 15 to €20 a week for groceries in Galicia. And this is with like veggies and all stuff. And then going out, you could get a full meal. I'm talking about your wine, your dessert, and everything for €12.
Yep. I went to the Basque region to visit my old college roommate who was doing a similar program. It was €1 tapas night where you get a glass of wine, house wine, of course, and a tapa. And I don't think I've ever been that drunk in my life. You just feel like a Russian oligarch because the cost of living is so different, and people have been living there for thousands of years. And this is a very normal lifestyle where you guys eat at 10 o'clock at night.
Yes.
I'm asleep by then.
Yeah, so like in Spain, like everything is late, everything opens late, which means everything closes late. So it'll be like 10, and my friends will be like, "Oh, you ready to go to bed soon?" I'm like, "No, we're going to dinner." So totally different from the rest of Europe. We operate a little later here, which is also nice. And there's like a huge, well, before Corona, sadly, there was a huge party culture of like, you have dinner at 10, and then you offer drinks around like 11:30, 12, and then you go to the next bar around 1, and the next one around 3, and then you go to the club around 4.
I'm having a heart attack on this episode.
And this is not just the young people. Like, I would see my students' parents out.
My God. Who takes care of the children? The old people? Sorry, the grandparents?
The children just stay home. And like, basically, like sometimes, like until maybe like 2 a.m., you'll see like the kids out with their parents. Like, it's fine. Like, the parents are there sitting at the bar, and the kids are like running down the street. And it's cool because it's very communal, and it's just that culture of like, we're all going to party and have fun, and you got to start early, right?
I guess, but I also love that there's not the same sort of like American fear of everything. Like, when I'm in America, I lock my doors in my garage and then like check all around in my garage because someone's always trying to murder you in America. And that's just not the same thing abroad. Do you feel safer outside of America like me?
I feel so much safer. I feel safer as a Black person. I feel safer as a woman. Especially as a woman who likes to run, like not thinking, even if I'm running in daylight, like someone is going to pop out and snatch me. I don't have this fear that if I walk into a store, I might be accused of stealing something and the police are called and then it becomes a big mess. Like, I don't walk around with a lot of like microaggressions in my day-to-day life. And it's such a relief. And I have such less tension in my body and in my mind. And it really frees up the things that I can do creatively to make money and to just enjoy life.
Yes, girl. Come abroad, Americans. Come get that white privilege that we never had in America.
That is it. That is the thing. You get American privilege.
You do, because here in my like little village outside of Munich, I'm like a local celebrity. People know me as the crazy American girl, and I'm shocked at maybe not how open the arms and warmth of my neighbors were, but they were interested in where I was from, why I was there. They definitely respected like my personal space. I never had that in America. I don't know about you.
Well, Spaniards really don't believe in personal space. So
okay, true.
Very similar to like Latino, African-American culture, like kisses and touching and loudness. But very much into me, not as a Black person, but as an American, which was weird. And then like having to explain, like in America, you don't divorce those two. And it was just odd having people be like, okay, where's your family from? And I'm like, Florida. And they're like, where? And I'm like, Florida. And then, I go slavery, and they're like, oh, we forgot that was a thing. I'm like, yeah, like we could trace my family roots back to like the 1700s. And they go, oh, that's so cool. The 1700s? That's like so important for American history. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, you might have not been on the right side of American history, unfortunately. But yeah, that's cool. Um, well, I'm glad that they're so open and welcoming to you. And where do you live right now?
I am in Madrid. I am in the heart of Spain in the capital city, and it's beautiful and a little crazy right now because of Corona, but fun. And I'm so glad I get to be here.
And what are you doing in Madrid?
I am still teaching English in Madrid. I'm teaching English outside of the city center in this very posh neighborhood where all the basketball players and athletes and lawyers and doctors and whatever like live and have their summer homes or whatever. But it's very cool.
That's awesome. And so you're teaching English during the day, and then do you do your side hustles at night, or how do you manage?
So because of the time difference, it's really easy for me to work with the East Coast because typically I'm home no later than 3 p.m.,
That's
which is
amazing.
about 9 a.m. East Coast time, sometimes sooner. Um, and so the East Coast is just getting their day started. The West Coast is maybe waking up, maybe not, depending. So I still have like the whole day. And because Spain's schedule is so shifted, I'm still working during like regular Spanish hours
Yeah,
for
that's the
most of the
dream.
time.
This is how I was able to pull all of this off during Corona, because America is just starting to wake up as we wrap up our work days for our full-time jobs. So I guess the moral of the story is work abroad so you can work 2 jobs uh, and get to financial freedom quicker. Is that your goal, or am I the only one that wants to retire at 40 something?
No, I am set to like pull out of my index fund, my target date fund. I think I'm supposed to be like 45, whatever. I'm like putting into that like target date adjustment fund that's geared from the 40, me at 45. So maybe like people who are 10 years older than me, but I'm like, nah, I want it then. I'm not trying to work into my 50s.
No, no, that's not part of the plan anymore. For anyone that doesn't know, a target date fund is a pile of money that a company manages for you. And you just tell them when you want to retire, and they will start your plan in more risky investments such as stocks and equity. And then they slowly move that money into bonds and cash as you get closer to your target date of retirement. These are typically more expensive cases, but I actually recommend them to my clients who want to be more passive with their investment. I call it a lazy girl's tracker fund. Would you agree?
Yeah, like that money, I just like it automatically transfers, it goes there. I don't think about it. I have this other stuff that I kind of like play with, I want to be more involved, but I know that it's going there, that's not being touched, it's never going to be touched, and I can sleep well at night.
Agreed, agreed. Because it really does come down to how active you want to be in your investment portfolio. I just had another guy on my Instagram live, Ross, who does this,
He
or
was
Rob.
great.
He was so good. He was so good, but he does this for like 12 hours a day. And I actually have a list of stocks that he's recommended on his platforms over and over, and I just pile them up in my Fidelity account so I could keep an eye on everything. And his stocks are so varied. We have outer space, we have e-commerce in China. I don't understand how he keeps his thumb on all of them and times the market or tries to figure out when to invest and when to pull out. It's exhausting. I don't want to
It
do this.
is. No, I'd rather like be focusing on my creative stuff, so definitely no.
No. Tell us about your creative stuff. What are you doing?
What am I not doing? I am blogging for like finance and travel. I also have a separate book blog, mainly about romance, but also about nonfiction things, but mainly romance. So running those 2 accounts. I have a YouTube channel where I have all of my loves come together instead of separating them. So finance, travel, blackness, books, it's just all there. And so
Love
I'm
it.
creating content at all of those intersects. I do photography. Before Corona, I did a lot of portrait and concert photography. I got to shoot Lizzo right before she blew up, which is so cool. It was so much fun.
Wow.
Yes. um, and so I'm now shifting more into the nature, still street art things. And so I'm going to start selling those digital prints soon. So people can buy those and have my art in their homes. So I spent a lot of time during Corona researching, finding a proper printer and things of that nature. So I'm really excited to get that out. Because I was researching, I was like, wow, like I take photos like this and you're paying this much for it? I can do that.
Yup.
I just finished up my presets for Lightroom, so I'll be selling those as well. I am currently working on a romance, maybe erotic, a book. I haven't really decided the avenue that's gonna go. We're in a rut right now of how like risque I want that to be, but it's like plotted out for 3 books, so look forward to that in 2021, hopefully.
And was this inspired by real events?
Maybe.
Quick commercial break. Want to manage your money better? Check out my beginner's budget dashboard. It's an easy-to-use digital tool that helped me economize my lifestyle easily so I could invest over $20,000 in 2020 alone. Check out the link in the description.
You know, we like to take things that happen in life and then spin them into a happier direction. But yeah, you know, that's the risk you take of dating a writer. Like maybe some things get plotted in there.
Creative liberties. Actually, I had an ex-boyfriend, complain about this, and he was like, "I hate the idea that you're going to write about me one day, whether we're together or not." And in my head, I was like, "Oh, we're not going to be together." There is no way this is gonna last. And I kept him around because he lived in a city in China that I'd never been to. And so I was like, okay, I want to go there. And then I'll break up with you and move on with my life. But
I love that. Yes. Be strategic. Be strategic in your relationships, ladies and gentlemen, or they.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's probably one of the best things about moving abroad as a single person is having like different experiences in different cities and letting yourself fall in and out of love. But I'm sorry, what other money-making avenues do you have? Like, she is the queen of making that dollar bill, y'all.
Let's see. I sell like little graphics on Etsy. I actually need to update those. So I've been doing that for like 4 years now since college. And so that's very passive. I make about $25 a month off of them because I don't do anything. It's just there. But hey, that's lunch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that's everything. I feel like that's everything. Oh no, social media. Duh, I'm a social media manager. God, my main bread and butter.
Too much money.
Yeah, so I do social media for small businesses as well. And so that's another avenue that brings in the bread, and I really enjoy that. And I kind of still dabble in online teaching, but not as much. But I still kind of like have my codes open to refer people and walk them through the process. And occasionally I'm like, oh, I want to like make $100 this week. Let's hop on for a couple hours. So yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So if I understand you correctly, you have your teaching job, which allows you to live abroad because that gives you your visa. It gives you a stable amount of income. And then everything that you make from your side hustles is just like the cherry on the top, the whipped cream, the extra sauce.
Yes, that's like my play money, my investment money, I want a new camera lens. Let's drop money on that. I want to like pay for my friend to come to a concert with me and I know they can't afford it. We can buy the ticket. Like those kinds of things.
Your second life begins when you open your LLC and start running all of your side money through it, because I've bought a drone, a camera, 2 lenses, plane tickets, hotels, technology, and this is all business expenses because I'm a travel blogger. But a lot of people don't realize this sort of flexibility that they have with their money once they're able to put it in an LLC or like limited company sort of shell. And then start using that money to make more money. Because if you're just buying like worthless stuff that's not going to make you money, was it really worth all that extra hustle?
Exactly. No. And even as like a freelancer, so before I made my LLC and I was freelancing as a photographer, I was able to write off some of those expenses because I had enough money coming in. And so when tax time came, I kept all those receipts and I was able to write that stuff off. So even that way, if you're hesitating about making an LLC and you're scared, although you shouldn't be scared of making an LLC, it was very easy for me to do it out of the state of Florida. Florida is one of the easiest states to make an LLC in.
Screw you.
You pay like zero taxes.
$1,000 for my license in California, and I have to do it every single time. $1,000. Yep.
I believe I spent $220, and I don't even think it was that much, but we'll say $220. We'll say that, but I don't even think it was that much.
I'm so aggravated.
We don't pay any state tax, so only federal tax.
My God. I got to get my parents to move out there like all the other old people. They're not old enough, unfortunately, to make it all the way out there. But they got to move to Texas or Oklahoma, something, so they can help me out and we can vote in a swing state.
Yes, we need that.
We do. For any of our listeners that are Black and thinking about moving abroad or starting a business, it takes a lot of like confidence and maybe the ability to see past some of the historical traumas and just like discouragement that Black people face when traveling and starting businesses. What sort of advice would you have for them?
When it comes to traveling, I would say don't let the fear set in. There's racism everywhere. There's anti-Blackness everywhere. But I tell people all the time, America is the best place to prepare you for that. Because you're not like, we just have a special kind of racism in America. I know that sounds bad, but I spoke to so many Black people who have like either visited America or lived in America, who were born somewhere in Latin America or in the African continent or even in Europe. And they were like, I wasn't expecting it. They're like, I knew there was racism and we have racism in my country, but I just wasn't expecting this level. So I think America prepares you for any and everything, and you'll realize that people kind of want to know you as an American. And yeah, there may be incidents like common stories that you hear maybe in Italy, even here in Spain, like someone may mistake you for a prostitute, especially if you're a woman or things like that, or lust after you because of your beautiful dark skin and you're so exotic and blah, blah, blah. But it's not that same kind of harassment and things that you get in the States. And I am more likely to approach a police officer here in any European country I've been to than I would ever in America. So I'd say don't let the fear of racism happening stifle you, because racism happens literally every day in your backyard. And when it comes to opening up a business, I would say go for it. Do your research and just have all your ducks in a row, because the worst thing that happens is that you try and you fail. But you never know if you will succeed if you don't try. And there's so many opportunities, especially right now in grants and things like that, because people feel like, oh, we have to find the Black, talent or whatever that's always been there. So get that money. If they want to now discover and prop up all this talent that's always been here, capitalize on that. And you don't necessarily even have to go to university. There's so many different courses and other skills that you can create. You can do this while you're in university as well. And so you can set yourself up. You can start, if you have a younger sibling, maybe try to get them involved and make this like a family thing of like, we're breaking these generational curses. And yes, these things have been robbed from us. Yes, this country refuses to give us reparations, even though we're owed it. Yes, they try to suppress our votes, but you're not stopping us.
No, and I think that was very clear in 2020 specifically, because like people took to the streets, people showed up and worked at polling booths, people voted for the first time ever, because we're trying to show the rest of the world that we're not going to put up with racism. We're not going to put up with this sort of voter oppression. And I'm actually really excited to see the direction that America will take in the next 4 years. Will I go back? No, I'm going to be sitting here from Germany with popcorn, like rooting you guys on, helping others to make their great escape. That's the title of my masterclass. And would you recommend that more people of color leave the United States, or would you recommend that they stay and fight the good fight?
So I am all for people of color, especially women of color, especially Black women leaving America. I just feel like there's a certain freedom that you gain, a sense of relief. And I tell it to people like this, especially for people who are descendants of people who were enslaved on American soil. No one ever tells other immigrants when their countries are killing them that you should stay. They say you should leave. So why should we feel this obligation to stay when our country is literally killing us, our children, our family and friends, and nothing is being done about it? Why should we feel forced to stay because we're American? No, you can take that blue passport. You can take this lovely American accent, learn a language, fall in love, get a new skill, and move somewhere else. Because you know what? We can still vote no matter where we live. That's the beauty.
Yep. We're
So
fighting from over here.
So you can do that work here. You don't have to feel this sense of like stress that you have to stay. There are some people I totally respect. I have cousins who are like, this is my country. This is our ancestors' country. We bled for this country. I don't want to leave. And I feel that. I respect that. That's not the life I want to live right now. But that's also why I'll never give up my American passport, because I still want my future children, if I decide to have them, to have the American privileges that I do.
For sure. I completely agree. And unfortunately, Germany doesn't allow American citizens to hold both passports. It's really, yeah, it's so disappointing. But they will allow my offspring to hold both passports. And eventually they might have to choose, but we might just not tell anyone. Just be creative with our liberties. And for me, I think I struggle with the idea that it rests on one person's shoulders to fix America. The Black woman in Detroit, the Latina in San Antonio. Like, why do our people have to stay and suffer and endure for the sake of what? I'm not sure.
A country that's killing us, a country that wants to send us back. When, if we're being real, like most Latinas, especially Mexican Americans, they are indigenous to the US. You guys moved the border. Like, that is a conversation I want to push so much. I know it's not for this, but like, we need to reframe the language when we're talking about people and who belongs. Like, Mexican Americans belong because it was all your land.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We are here for reparations. No more tacos until y'all give us back what we deserve. Yes. But reparations and social inequality aside, I know that your next steps are to do an international master's, right? And where will you be doing this?
I will be going to the cold and dreary Brussels, Belgium. So I am going north and east. No, west. Yes, north and west. Yes. I will be your neighbor.
Yes, we'll be very close to each other. And what master's are you doing?
I am doing a communication and technology master's in Belgium. It's actually it's a Flemish university. If you don't know anything about Belgium, they have the Flemish part and the Walloon part. So half of the country speaks French, the other half speaks Dutch. Even though my university is a Dutch university, I'll be living in a French-speaking area, so I'm learning French right now, and I'm very excited, and hopefully we can finesse an EU job, fingers crossed.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can. Hit me up. Your girl is ready.
Yeah, you bet. Well, if my company survives the pandemic, we're always hiring multilingual people on European soil, because the internationalism that someone like you brings is just invaluable. Plus, we all work in English anyway, since no one country speaks the same language here in Europe.
Yes, the privilege of English.
I know. I don't know where I would be without it. If you speak English, there's a lot more opportunities out there than if you spoke anything else. And what was the applying process like? Because I know a lot of people get nervous, one, about applying for school in general, but two, now you have it abroad, you have it potentially in a different language. What is the process like?
The process for Belgium is very easy. A lot of other countries, even Spain, it's more strenuous and drawn out. But Belgium, you need to have a copy of your diploma, not just your transcript, but a copy of your diploma, a statement of purpose, your transcripts, and you pay your application fee. And that was it. And then you just wait forever. They were very slow. So it was a lot of waiting. And the good thing about going to an American university is that you don't have to get your documents translated. So I believe it was if you had your degree conferred in somewhere that was French, Dutch, German, or English, you didn't need your documents translated, which is a huge money saver. There was one university that asked me to submit like a course syllabus, which was weird. And so I like hit up my former professor and was like, hey, can I get the syllabus? And he was like, what? I've never in my 20 years of teaching. And I was like, look, I know it's weird. I promise it's legit. I'm not trying to steal like your intellectual property. And then he sent it and was like, best of luck. But yeah,
awesome.
It was easy. And
Yeah.
tuition is very, very cheap. So my program is the expensive program to where it's gonna end up being, I think, 5,000 euro because I have to take an extra like co-course because I didn't study anything related to European politics. But there's some to where it's 900 euro a year.
Yep. People think I'm lying when I tell them about how affordable school is out here. There's a whole article about how there are specific universities in the EU that will just let Americans study there for free too.
Mm-hmm.
They're in France, they're in Spain, they're in Germany. So please, listeners, do not be afraid of going abroad to pursue your academic passions and to just try something new. What do you hope you'll get out of this program? Like, where do you want to work? What do you want to be when you grow up?
When I grow up, it's so funny because one of my students asked me this recently and it gave me a crisis. She asked me that question. I said, oh, I want to be a UX researcher. And she goes, why are you here? I was like, huh? She goes, why are you here in Spain, but at this school teaching me if you want to work in technology? And I was like, that's a really good question, kid. But I went to go into UX research. So ideally as a consultant, so I can have a bit more flexibility. And a PhD is still kind of a possibility, but my end goal is a consultant in UX research.
There's a German entrepreneur visa where you just have to
I know.
prove.
I'm looking at that as like, if we don't get this EU job, like, hey, Germany. That's why I'm taking German classes right now.
There we go.
A1, baby.
Okay, girl, look at you. For anybody who has entrepreneurial spirits, and if you're listening right now, Portugal has a D7 visa where you only need to prove you have like 10 grand in the bank and you're going to work remotely from Portugal. And then you can just live there for a year. Germany has the entrepreneur visa where you get to like pay taxes in Germany. Lucky you, I'm paying 42% myself. And then you can secure the visa and live here as well. Estonia, the digital nomad visa, that's good for a year that you can reapply over and over and over again until you become naturalized as a permanent resident. There are so many options.
There's also DAF in the Netherlands, which is the Dutch-American Friend Treaty. So if you are a freelancer, you have your own business, you have to have 4,500 euros set aside in a Dutch bank account, and you can apply for your visa. They prefer you to have at least one client from the Netherlands, but if you have a sustainable amount of clients from the US or other foreign countries, you can also go there.
There's so many options nowadays. And when I moved abroad in 2013, I just had no idea what was possible. I was just like, I'm going to get on this plane and hope for the best.
That was me. I had never left North America. I'd been to the Caribbean, I'd been to Canada, but I had never left North America. And I just hopped on a plane and came. And now look at me.
Well, if we can do it, guys, anyone can do it. We're going to wrap up this episode right here. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing all these incredible stories with us. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Petite Aitza or petite.reads if you're interested in books. You can find me on Instagram at Petitely Packaged or petite.reads as well if you're interested in the books. Petitely Packaged for my money and finance, Petite Reads for the books, and Aitza B on YouTube for all of the loves combined.
Wonderful. I will also include these links in the description so you can find her that way. Okay, have a wonderful rest of your evening because I know it's just getting started at 8 o'clock at night.
Dinner time.
Yeah, I'm going to bed. I've already eaten and I've already taken off all my makeup. So have a wonderful night and we'll see you in the next episode. Want to win a free finance-related digital product valued anywhere from $15 to $300? Just subscribe and leave a review on iTunes with your name. I'll announce the winner each month on the podcast, and you can DM me on Instagram to claim your prize. Thanks for supporting the channel, and I'll see you next week.